So, here we are with the little baby. And a wave with your feet. Hello. Hey, baby. Mwah. Be chilling with the baby. And tonight is reading night. So, I'm going to finally get to reading Nietzsche, God is Dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him, is what he states. This is, I'm pretty sure it's a German philosopher. Oh, yeah. You excited? And I'm going to go over a brief overview over the theory of God, more specifically God in his era of living, and more than likely what he's going to mean by it, even though I don't remember specifically his thoughts on it, but I'm going to go over the overall running theory of the gods and then God. And then on top of that, I'm going to try to, if I remember, I'm going to go into why God, how the society would see God, right? Because societies went through this. Because are you interested too? So societies went through this constant, pretty much after, I'd say, right around the year, I'm trying to think, I'm kind of blown. I want to say around the year 4, like there was, society went through these, it still does go through these wild ways to still try to connect with Jesus Christ and what he actually was and what's the respectable form of how the form of Jesus was accepted in churches. So one thing Assassin's Creed games did get right with the older ones is when they did have churches, they didn't put pictures of Jesus up, and that was done for a reason. Because back in those older days, you're okay, baby. Back in those older days, they viewed drawing Jesus as blasphemy. Like you weren't like drawing a picture of Jesus, like that was considered blasphemy. So there were no pictures of Jesus in the earlier years, and they finally came to the conclusion like, okay, well, drawing a picture could tell a story to people who are illiterate, and illiteracy was a big thing back then. So they finally got over it to the point where it was okay to actually draw pictures. And then they drew a picture of a baby. I'm gonna eat the baby because he's so delicious. What you doing? Baby Kratos! Oh! Kratos! Kratos! What's up, D Still? Yay, Daddy. What's up, Ivy Bo? We live, baby G Verde. What's up, Kratos? Ready to talk to us with the player. What's up, Tope? I'm always pronounce. I say it every time, pronounce it wrong. But hey, thanks for tuning in. Kratos, give him the little blades of chaos. What you doing, baby? You chilling? What you doing? Let's see your feet. Okay. We kicking now. That's what we doing. That's what we doing. You want to go to mommy? You want to go to mommy? You want to go to mommy? Yeah. So again, this is going to be just a reading night. Mostly reading and maybe giving my thoughts off after every sentence. Not every sentence, but every paragraph of this book. So anybody tuned in maybe late, I'm going to read this. Somebody wants to read it already. Sotoya in Czech, by the way, is what is this? What is it? Sotoya, baby. Oof. Yeah, he's definitely hitting that next phase of... He'll be about 8 months next month. He's hitting that next phase of movement because he was not moving like this a month ago. And grabbing something. Could y'all see that how he grabbed it that fast? Kratos trying to get on the conversation. Uh-oh, somebody ready to go to mommy. Somebody getting frustrated. You getting frustrated, baby? Don't throw up on my laptop. Just don't puke on my laptop. He gonna be a year old. He's all Elijah, yeah. It'll be a yeah. Baby. Baby cheeks. You wanna go to mommy? Let's see if he'll do this. Let's see. This is something we do. Let's see if he does. Ma 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 ma. Oh wait, can you guys see? Ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. Ba 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 ba. He's been tuning out as lately. He used to do it like immediately. Another thing, I used to talk to him. Uh-oh, somebody ain't on it. Baby Inkle cheeks. Ah, 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 ah. Ah, ah, ah. Now he just smiles at me. We used to have full conversations like that. Now he just stares at me and smiles. Yeah, we're gonna take him to mommy. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, oh, okay, cool. So, catch up on some of these. Yeah. Baby Thanos. Yeah, he grew fast. Yeah, he's almost let's see, June. Yeah, he's going on 8 months. Wait. Yeah, he'll be going on 8 months in about a week. He's cool, man. Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. But yeah. So here we are. So let's start with this fly. And okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and just shotgun it because I've never actually read to anybody, and like seriously, like read something that takes like a lot of thought on my end, possibly. So it says the content says part 1, critique of religion, part 2, God is dead, right? And again, okay, so let's start off first by kind of going through just a brief overview of religion and what religion exactly is. Let's just tackle it strictly from the population's perspective, right? What religion actually is. So when humans were first around, right? They had, humans had no idea what was going on, nothing, right? These motherfuckers it's not their fault. There was no history for them to go off of, to study, right? For the most part, because people didn't really keep records of anything, right? And most of this is fairly new of humans, like genuinely keeping like in-depth records. Like, that's why I was stressing about a week or two ago, like this time period, we're really the equivalent of like Atlantis or some shit like that. We're like on one hand, like, yeah, we're dumb as fuck. But on the other hand, when you count all the other species and shit like that, as far as like genuine record keeping and learning, like we're definitely like a major fucking force in all this shit. Like, right? Like, I mean, as far as we can, let me open this other window. As far as we can scope out. But so initially, like religions start out with motherfuckers dancing to hope it's gonna rain next week and all that shit, right? Like, so okay, the number one thing at the core to remember about religion is throughout humanity, it's usually only been religion is usually for the ignorant, the overall speaking, the ignorant or the hopeless, right? Because even now, if you Google or if you just look up any place that's heavy in religion on a nationwide level that's seriously in religion, these are usually coincidentally going to be the poorer places on earth, right? Which is fucked up to say, but it's just the reality of human and human development, right? Like, just for example, let's say, okay, in the U.S. we more separate based off of income. So in the U.S., I tell you what, as a perfect example, go drive to a rich neighborhood, right, and tell me how many churches you find there. Now, and then on the back end, go to any poor neighborhood and see how many churches you'll see scattered around everywhere. Church, like religions on a whole, are usually more what's the word I'm looking for? Not advertised, more promoted by either the ignorant or the hopeless, right? That's usually their backbone for survival. Because, okay, so initially how religion really started out is a form of rituals of just, motherfuckers dancing to hope it fucking rains next week so they can, grow better crops. These motherfuckers would dance and kill motherfuckers, sacrifice and all types of shit. This is where all this shit comes from. So remember, I want you to keep track with me on this, right? So these whole rituals of killing people and dancing or giving up their best goat or giving up their best horse to kill it in hopes that the sun gods realize it so the sun will come back up tomorrow. All these things initially started out as showing sacrifice to the gods, and more specifically, pay attention to gods, right? Plural, right? In some form, it's going to be plural, right? So after time, okay, so let's focus on God. So when it was gods, plural, what people tended to do was when they worshiped the gods, I forget what the proper word, Ogliolithic, I don't know the proper word, but when they worshiped the gods, what happened was if a person would not like one god, they could just favor another god, right? If they didn't like Zeus, they liked, Hermes. If they didn't like Hermes, they liked, Ares, or for whatever reason, like they could just go to which god they chose, right? And typically in these, religions, for lack of better words, in these groups, these gods never showed any true caring for one human, right? Like historically speaking, generally speaking, when these religions had multiple gods, like, more than, it was like they were completely different, people. These never focused on one person, right? And if anything, it was kind of this thing like they're looking out for the greater good of mankind, and you got to just abide by their rule. But it wasn't this intimate one-on-one thing. So, and you see a lot of consistencies in what the people did and how they did it and when they did it, right? So as time grew on. Intelligence grew, for one reason or another. Things trickled into this monolithic shit, right? Like it's one God, and you have to worship that one God. And typically, when it became one God, then it became this intimate. You got not it's us versus them shit, right? When it grew into this one entity, that's where all this it's us versus them shit came out. Because previously speaking, when it was multiple gods, this us versus them shit didn't exist in anywhere near the same capacity. It was more like, do you like me? Okay, cool. You don't like me? Well, then go like my brother then. Get the fuck out my face, right? Whereas when it turned into this, and I'm severely summarizing all this shit. I'm severely oversimplifying because I'm trying to get to reading this book. So I'm not gonna live stream for long tonight. When time grew on, because you have to remember, religion was the people's Instagram. Religion, that was their shit. Religion was the people's shit because they didn't have TV, they didn't have smartphones, they didn't have computers. All they had was stories, right? So these people needed a way to explain what was going on around them. Right? We've always searched to define shit, right? So these people needed something to help them explain why the sun come up. Where's the rain coming from? Why is this shit growing? And this was long before the days of biochemistry. You know what I mean? They had no idea this shit. So they had to create stories to fuel it, right? Right? Yeah, so again, I'm oversimplifying this shit massively because I want to get to reading it. So I'm just going to fast forward to pretty much when Catholicism really started taking off, like Wait, no, actually, no, I'm not going to go there. Where I'm going to go is, where should I go next? So yeah, when shit starts to become a monolithic in this time period. Yeah. Okay, so I'll stop here. So when it became monolithic, that became a clear way to just to be able to manipulate the people on a massive level, right? Because once it became to one God, well, now everybody is hard tuned and hardwired for this one God, so they could manipulate people much easier, right? Much better, much easier. And they knew where everybody in those groups knew where the power was being allocated. They could use the power against the king. The religious parties pretty much had power. They were pretty much the police of the king at the time, wherever they were, right? Because the religious parties were, in their time, they were in charge of what happened after you died, right? Because in many other denominations, or whatever you want to call it, there would be afterlives, but the people would not be anywhere near as manipulated as they did by the time Catholicism came along, right? So by the time Catholicism came along, it was just off the charts, dude. These motherfuckers was telling people, yeah, if you can pay me every week to go to heaven, right? Just pay me every week, and I'll give you a certified letter from God that you can get into heaven, but you got to pay me every week, right? And that's borderline where that whole tithes and offering shit comes from. But they have to keep manipulating to make it sound like that's not where it comes from. They were tricking people into paying to go to heaven, right? And again, I'm oversimplifying this massively. I'm trying to pick out key moments. Okay, yeah. So the next step was, or maybe a previous step. The next area I want to touch on is, again, God, Jesus and God. There was a big time period where, again, if you drew a picture of Jesus, that was considered blasphemy because they weren't ready to accept that Jesus. Okay, in that time period, drawing something was making it an icon, right? And that was considered blasphemy at the time. So that's why in older churches, that's why you don't see very many pictures of Jesus drawn on anything. It's very few. And that's typically why, right? And then, like I said, after that time period, they finally grew out of that because, like, well, people, so many people were illiterate. They didn't know how to read or properly tell anything. So people thought, well, we could just tell this story through pictures. So it slowly started to become the norm. So up until, I think, around the year 500 AD, this was the time period where, I forget what the motherfucker, where he was from, where he was at. But in Europe, that's when they decided to make the calendar actually based off of the birth of Jesus Christ. So, and if anybody knows any deeper in this, please correct me, but I got real interested on this topic, like where the calendars actually come from. Like why is it the year 2023, right? Quick side note, there's actually 7 calendars in circulation now, but the calendars that we use is just the one that's used throughout the world. But there's actually, I think it's 7. There's 9 total, and I think there's 7 of them are actually still in use now to this day. So I think in one group of people, it's like the year 5,000 something. But I got real interested in how we came to consider this is the year 2023. So out of the digging I was able to do, because again, to find hardcore explanation, boom, on it is kind of difficult, right? To get a well-rounded explanation. So where the counting of years come from is around the year 500. They tried to they came with the idea to actually start keeping track of years, right? To legitimately start keeping track of years. Because if you really think about it, how did motherfuckers know they was born in the year 49 AD, right? I'm sorry, BC or BCE, whatever you want to call it. How did they really know? I mean, if they had no idea of Jesus coming, how would these motherfuckers really know it was the year 123 BCE, or BC, before Christ? How would you really have known this shit? So these motherfuckers were not keeping track of years. Like they kept track of dates, but they didn't keep track of years. And dates, that's a whole nother conversation of dates if you want to get into to months and how they were slowly added. Like, for example, January and February was just nothing. There was no name for January and February. It was just nothing. It just started at March. And then they added January because I think January came from a goddess of new time or something, and that's where January came from. Like if you would the count, that's a whole nother topic for another video. But how the theory of keeping track of years, that was a big thing. Like keeping track of years, and at least in the European society, that was a big thing, right? And since they didn't have since they were using Roman numerals, they had no concept of the number zero. So that's why I started. That's why there is no year zero in for lack of better words, our years, because they just started at 1. And on top of that, it's still fucked up because nobody can really agree on the proper time when it happened. So they just made the birth of Christ year 1, right? In that religion. And that's where we get the year. That's why we call it the year 2023. So in theory, it's been 2020. But even then, when they start keeping track of the years, motherfuckers didn't follow that shit for a good 500 years, right? I want to say it was 525 AD. I want to say it was around that time. And motherfuckers, you got to remember, this is before the internet. So people did not keep track. Like they did not even follow it for a good 500 to 700 years, I want to say, before people actually started to like say, okay, this is the year, 1235. Like motherfuckers just didn't pay attention. They didn't care. People just weren't keeping, because I even got so deep in it, I tried to find like tombstones with years and shit like that. Like I really tried to find, like because I really gave it thought. It was one of those topics I never gave thought to. And I was like, when it finally caught, I was like, wait a minute. Let me go try looking up some tombstones of Alexander the Great or something like that. I mean, anything. And there was no keeping track of years, right? So anyway, back to the religion part of it. Throughout the course of religion, so pretty much when we get to like more modern times, like, maybe over the last, I'd say 2020, 500 years, I'd say 500-ish years. The idea of God and Jesus and cultures that follow it has massively done these wild jumps in how we should see Jesus, how we should see God. Is he more an ideal? Is he more human? Is he perfection? Did he make mistakes? And even now, churches will fight about this shit. If you go to church now, one church may say he was absolutely perfect and everything, and you go to a church down the street, they'll say, "Oh, Jesus is fucked up. He broke his leg a couple times." I mean, like even now, religion is taking this massive roller coaster ride on how should we properly see Jesus. And lucky for us, we're not gonna kill the other church for believing something different now. Whereas, 700 years ago, we probably would have killed him for believing that Jesus broke his toenail on his birthday. You know what I mean? Some old goofy shit like that. But no. So the idea of God definitely is different from, I'd say for every 100 years. Every 100 years, there was relatively a bigger. I say every 100 years over the past 500 years, it was this massive jump in how we should see him. Whatever. Okay, so and real quick before I touch on the book, I wanted to touch into the theory of what witchcraft, how it translated, right? So initially, witchcraft was seen as good. Any type of like trying to speak to the gods and all that shit, it was essentially like because motherfuckers was dancing and hoping the sun was gonna come up tomorrow, right? Because they didn't know. These motherfuckers didn't know. You can't blame them because they had nothing to work with. They didn't have Google yet. I mean, I can tell you the sun gonna come up tomorrow. It might be cloudy, but it's a good chance the sun gonna come. If the sun don't come up tomorrow, then none of us is gonna know it. All right, let's just say that. Right? But I got Google. I can, and even if they lied to us, well, at this point, why the fuck even care? You know what I mean, motherfuckers. Why, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't know. These motherfuckers was the first ones. So the point where witchcraft and black magic turned evil was pretty much after that monolithic shit kicked off. The monolithic God kicked off, because when that monolithic God kicked off, that's when it became real clear you had to go to that one God for everything. It wasn't broken up amongst other gods, right? Wealth, love, beauty, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? So when you had to go to that one God, and that one God was all powerful and all knowing, see, that's when black magic and witchcraft immediately turned to be, a jailable offense. Right, relatively speaking, it became it used to be cherished and loved by the whole fucking community, and and within a relative small time frame it switched to being the black arts, right? But the black arts really was just, you're just a victim of your time. Once you switch to that monolithic God who knows everything, dreams everything, creates everything, he's for lack of better words, he's supposed to know everything. In theory, you're not supposed to come along and try to coax him into doing anything, right? You can beg him for something, but you're not trying, like, you coming up trying to coax him and trick him into something. Now that's evil. See, because when that monolithic guy came out, now it's us against them, right? I don't know if y'all heard that. He in there flipping out, but it turned into us against them. So I'm actually really curious to start this book because I want to see where God fit in when he was into it. Question is why they care now. Yeah. And you should, what if autist, he covers a lot of topics you'd be interested in. Word up. What's up, Billy Lizer? What's up, man? So we're good. Let's start on this. So he says, God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. So let's start. Part 1, critique of religion. All the beauty and sublimity which we have ascribed to real and imagined things, I will reclaim as the property and product of man, as his most eloquent apology. Man as poet, as thinker, as God, as love, as power. Oh, the royal liberality with which he has lavished gifts upon things in order to impoverish himself and make himself feel wretched. That's a great fucking point. His greatest feat of selfishness has been that he admired and worshipped and knew how to conceal from himself that it was he who had created what he admired. Yeah, I agree. And so the overall theory is this, like, a God is only a God because we created the God, right? So and that is a great this is starting out pretty good already. So he has his own cynical view on it, which I'm a fan of cynics. I am one. Yeah, that's a great theory. So yeah, so essentially the thing is, like, gods didn't create us. We created the gods. Yeah. And that touches on what I mentioned about a month ago. How religions always come back to it kind of always became tailored to it. Religions always come back to self-mutilation, right? There was a group called the Flagellates. Actually, I covered it in that cult book. Humans have this weird condition, right? And it's really it's a truly weird condition. Maybe not every human, but a decent enough to keep religions going. Because this is the only part that keeps religions going. That we feel that for anything of value, we have to go through a lot of pain to get it, right? And maybe it's I have my own personal opinion on it, but for the massive amounts of people, maybe it's some sense of wanting a deeper sense of truly mattering to the world when deep down we know we really don't. I really don't. I have a more scientific explanation for it. Like, for example, let's use chemistry. Like, if you let electrons go, they will break off into even. I think this deeper fight for equality has nothing to do with what we really think it is. I think it comes from more chemistry, right? So another great example, electron degeneracy. If I remember correctly from my biotech degree, electron degeneracy is what happens when you force two atoms too close together. If I'm remember correctly, which is pretty much the same in another context, it's the same method of how an atom bomb goes off, right? If I'm, again, it's been years since I've studied this, but in chemistry, if you force two atoms too close together, they're going to explode. They're going to go apart from each other. In humans, we do the same thing, right? There's a philosophical theory that humans suffer from, porcupine syndrome. Like, we want to be warm, but then if we get too close together, the porcupine, a little sting or whatever, it'll stab the other human, and then we stay farther apart. But we still want to be warm, right? So we get it's called I think it's called hedgehog syndrome. is we want to get close because we want to get warm. So we want to get close to other hedgehogs. But if we get too close, we're going to stab each other and hurt each other, and then we push off again, right? I think humans have this desirable need for pain. Like, we desire it. So what the flagellates used to do, this was its own subgroup, right? They truly believed that hurting themselves would get them closer to God. So what they would do is they would go through villages where it would be one of them or two or three of them, and they would just beat themselves and just cry and scream to God, or beat themselves and then beat the other. And they would walk through villages just doing that shit. This is what they did, right? The flagellates. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. It's just, so anyway, let's continue. Contrary movement, the origin of religion. Contrary movement, the origin of religion. Okay, just as the uneducated man of today believes that when he is angry, his anger is the cause, that when he thinks, his mind is the cause, that when he feels, his soul is the cause. In short, just as a number of psychological entities are still unhesitatingly recognized as causes in a still naive age, the same phenomena were explained with the help of person-like entities. Man attributed the conditions which struck him as strange, captivating, or overwhelming to being under the influence of a demon or witch, or i.e. a person. Thus, the Christian, the most naive and backwards man of today, ascribes hope, serenity, and a sense of deliverance to a psychological inspiration from God. As one accustomed to suffering and distress, the Christian would rightly regard his feelings of happiness, exhalation, and serenity as strange and in need of some explanation. Yeah. Among intelligent, strong, and vigorous races, it was primarily the epileptic who inspired the belief that a strange power was at work here, but also any similarly involuntary condition, like that of the zealot, of the poet, of the great criminal, or passions like love or revenge, are conducive to the invention of superhuman powers. An abstract condition is made concrete by being identified with a person, and when the condition occurs, it is claimed to be the effect of that person. In other words, the psychological genesis of God and internal condition is personified as its own external cause, in order for the condition to be the effect of something other than itself. The psychological reasoning is as follows. When a man is suddenly and overwhelmingly affected with a sense of power, as in the case with all great passions, it excites a doubt in his mind as to whether his own person could possibly be the cause of such an astonishing sensation. He dares not think so, and thus he posits a stronger person, in this case, a deity. Yeah. So, okay, translation. In my opinion, this is how I perceive it. Most men and women too, humans cannot stand the thought of being completely alone with their own thoughts. Right? Humans on a whole cannot, it's like we always end up craving some type of mommy and daddy. Right? And I've thought this for a long time. As humans, we always crave a mommy and daddy, no matter how old we get. I think that's a part in us that stays, right? And as humans, we need other people. We need others to verify that we exist, right? We need it. A part of us always needs, at some way, some method. Like, we don't exist unless we exist to others. It's this weird dynamic of humans that we just have in us. Right? I'm not blaming humans. I'm not mad about it. It's just the reality, right? So long story short, how I took all this was man could not stand to be alone for too long. Even if, no matter if it's positive or negative, humans, once it became clear that we can either create an illusion. Let me sum it up right here. As humans, once it became clear that we could create illusion, that action has never gone back. It has never gone away after that as a whole, right? And this goes into many different, well, a few different categories. Let's say, for example, once we created some type of fiction, we have even if you make it illegal, we won't abandon it. We keep it going. And if you really think about it, it's pretty crazy as humans how we can create something we can create something that doesn't exist, right? Like how as humans we can, like as human right now, I can imagine a picture right now and draw something that has an elephant's head, a wolf's legs, a deer's nose, a fucking lion's tail, and draw it. Or I can just draw something completely random, right? I can and explain. If you think about how crazy it is that we can actually do that, right? Create some shit that doesn't exist in our head. That's fucking wild shit. If you really think about it, like that's fucking wild shit. But also, where I'm going with this is, as humans, once we came up with a way to escape ourselves, right? To create fiction, to escape ourselves. Once we've done that, it doesn't matter if you make it illegal. We will go back to it. Alcohol, drugs, religions, right? Anything that, if video games, stories, movies, anything, whenever we create anything that we can escape our own self, no matter how bad the drug is, no matter how detrimental, you will always find people strung out on drugs to escape their own lonely thoughts and be stuck in a theoretical room with their own thoughts. We've always hated it throughout history. Wherever you find, whenever societies found they could hallucinate, that shit stayed there for the rest of time. All right, we don't let it go. We love fiction. It's as if we love fiction in many cases more than nonfiction, right? Because at least we can control fiction. We can make it whatever we want, and there's comfort in making anything whatever we want. I can draw a picture right now and make it whatever I want. Whereas nonfiction, I can't make nonfiction whatever I want. It is what it is. I can't say that Bill Gates' real name is Thomas Woodrow and he has a purple wig on. I mean, I can say it, but it's not. It's not real, right? So fiction, that's another deep topic. Let me finish this. Finish this last paragraph. In summary, the origin of religion lies in an exaggerated sense of power, which strikes people as strange, and just like the sick man who, finding that one of his limbs feels heavier and peculiar, comes to the conclusion that other men must be sitting on it. The naive homo religioso, wow, he broke it down to a whole subcategory of human, divides himself up into several people. Religion is an example of the alteration de la personalite. He experiences something like a sense of awe and dread before himself, but likewise a sense of extraordinary happiness and elevation. Among the sick, a sense of health suffices to make one believe that God exists, that God is near. Yeah, and that goes into what I was saying. The last part, it goes into God exists and God is near. That comfort that somebody is over you, watching you. Right? You need a daddy, you need a mommy and a daddy, and it's just that thing. It's just that. My opinion is just that thing. Humans, because we're born into the world on that cycle of needing a mommy, some type of mommy and daddy to protect us, and at some point, like, we just want to feel like we're protected. What's up, CGI Life? Love, yo, thanks Hexagon on Saturn, loving the thoughts. Yo, thanks a lot, man. Yeah, Bruno, I'm good. What's up, man? Please show us. Oh, he's in there with mommy. I think she just gave him a bath. I would bring him in. I took him in there with mommy, man. It's about his bedtime for real. He really goes to sleep around 7. He's been staying up late, but yeah, I'm not gonna get him now. But I'll try to bring him next week. But remember, something is nothing and nothing is something. That's great. Do you think this is the Hexagon on Saturn says? Do you think this is the desire we project onto women, for women to save us like a new type of mother figure? Exactly. Hexagon on Saturn. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I'll totally own up to that. Yeah, because I'll tell you what, and this is relatively humiliating, but when my mom had died, I went through a large phase after my mom died, where even any woman that came into my life, I tried to turn her into my mom, because my mom died when I was when I was 14. She died in 2000. I went through a long phase of just, even if it was my aunt, anybody, dude, like any type of girlfriend I had, I went through a phase. I'm admitted, like I wanted to turn her into my mom, right? And that was because that, like, I was just lacking that shit to have, after having it, relatively speaking, ripped away from me. But I totally own up to that. I think men essentially, I think that's the first major step of looking for that unconditional love out of a woman, is to get that is a part of that mommy, like, it's just that comfort shit, right? Now, I think kind of where I might have gone a bit wrong, I don't say wrong, but I just went in my own path with it, was finally coming to the conclusion that I am alone, right? Which is a hard conclusion to come to, as a human. It's a difficult conclusion to come to, because it's like kind of like a Batman type of situation, right? Like, you come to that full conclusion that nobody's coming to save you. I mean, my dad's still here, and he'd do anything for me. That's part of the reason why I never ask him for anything, because the reason why, here's another quick thing. The reason why I don't ask my dad for any help is because I know he'll give me everything he has, right? And I don't want him to do that. I want him to enjoy his life. I want my dad to go buy a sports car and just burn those motherfucking tires out, right? I want him to do everything that he ever wanted to do, right? I don't want him to be held back by any of my problems, none of that shit, right? The number one wish I have from my dad is to go out there and do exactly whatever the fuck he's ever dreamed of doing. I don't want him to be tied up by any mental issue I got or anything like that. So that's why I don't ask him. We talked about it. I haven't asked. I don't, since I've been on my own, I've never asked him for money, for rent money, nothing. This is before I was getting the military money. I never asked my dad for money. There was a couple times where it would have helped out to, like, borrow some money. It was a bigger sum of money. It would have helped out, and at the last minute I said, no, I'm good. I don't need it. But yeah, I want my dad to just have his life and just be happy, right? Just be happy. I don't want him to, like, so that's why I don't ask him for anything, because I know he would give me everything he has. I know he would. That's why I don't ask him for shit. But back to the mommy thing, like your mother, that's a whole different, especially if you had a good mother. You know what I mean? That's a whole different level of love, a whole different type and level for especially for, like, the opposite gender, offspring. So, like, to get to that, and these little things are kind of what push me push me in life, where I'm kind of shut off, to be able to do big, like, relatively speaking, bigger things. Because somebody commented, like they were, like, wondering how I was able to just, go to different countries and just stand alone, kind of thing. It's these little things that promoted that growth at later times, and it's not always gonna be a comfortable growth. Is very rarely comfortable, but it's these like Batman type of scenarios. Like, you had to go through something awful to become relatively gangster at some point later on in life. But Nana says, I feel the same way about my father. I would go as far as to suffer alone than to have him suffer for me. Yeah, I'm with you, Nana, for sure. Yeah. Which one is beta, Batman or Iron Man? Oh, well, when it comes to dealing with women, definitely Batman for sure. Well, I don't know. In the movies, I don't know, because they're turning both of them a bit pussy. So I don't know. What's up, Javi? 80, when you going to do some game stream? I was going to do a game stream last night, but since I can't live stream for long, I'm just going to read a bit of this book. I'll probably maybe tomorrow night I might do a video game live stream. I don't know. Because I was planning to do it tonight, but the things just got too hectic, so I'll just read a few pages of this book on a live stream. But let me get back. How many were we on? We're only on page 3. So I'll read the next few paragraphs. So Nietzsche, I hope I pronounced that right. He continues, which I'm totally in agreement with him. The primitive psychology of the religious man. Man reasons that all changes are effects, and all effects are the effect of volition. Any conception of nature or of natural law being entirely absent here. Well, yeah, and I agree, yeah, because this is touching where I started when I first started this video, of man needing something, man desperately clinging to needing an explanation for everything instead of just kind of just accepting it as it is. Especially in his time, they didn't have MRI scans and nothing like that to be able to prove what your brain is actually doing. So you also got to keep in mind when this motherfucker was around. So he says that every effect has its agent. His primitive psychology consists in thinking that he himself is a cause only when he is aware of having willed something. As a result, powerful states convey to man the impression that he is not their cause, that he is not responsible for them. Such states arise involuntarily. Consequently, he cannot be their author. The unfree will, i.e., the consciousness of an involuntary change in our internal condition, requires the existence of an alien will. Yeah. In consequence, man has never dared to attribute all of his strong and startling moments to himself. He has always thought of them as passive and suffered as overwhelming. Religion is the outgrowth of a doubt as to the unity of the person. It is an alteration of the personality. Insofar as everything great and strong in man was thought of as a superhuman and alien, man diminished himself. He divided himself into two parts, one very wretched and weak, the other very strong and startling, and set them in their separate spheres, calling the one man and the other God. Yeah. So what I got from that, just on one quick read through again, what I get from this, historically speaking, there was always some sense of righteousness, right? And there was a sense of, okay, somebody fucked you over, right? So in any civilization's laws, they always had, okay, every civilization, here's the thing, humanity, we all do the same shit. It just comes out in different forms and in different respects, depending on that culture and how, and what fiction was created in that culture, right? So it doesn't matter what color you are, it's human, right? Any group, even if you go to a high school with kids in high school, those kids have created unspoken laws, right? It's what we do. The only difference is laws now are just on a country, nationwide level, right? But if you go to a preschool, those kids will start to do, well, they might be a little too young, but they'll start to develop what you do, what you don't do type of shit, right? And this situation this precedes the idea of dancing for rainwater, right? Dancing for the sun, go kill your dog, to sacrifice your dog to the sun god to hope that the sun comes up tomorrow, right? So you can eat again, right? To grow crops, right? The idea of law precedes the gods, right? Right? Because even if you go out there to the jungle, you go out there in packs of animals. Packs of animals will create shit laws that you don't do. You don't go over there and fuck with they shit. You don't so this predates religion. And again, religions and gods were just the next step in evolution to be able to explain why somebody did something that the other one didn't like. And the unanimous decision was, okay, this shit is wrong. You're fucked up. The next came, oh, we should punish you for doing this, right? This is the proper order of the reality. See, situations like this is like situations with modern feminism and women on Earth now. Like they're people don't really have a proper understanding of the order of how shit happen. Like these gender dynamics and all. See, look, okay, let's touch real quick on that, because that's what my channel is essentially about. See, the patriarchy and gender dynamics was not forced onto women, right? Women did what they had to do to survive alongside man and agreed with it so they could survive. And then then patriarchy shit built on top of that. Right? But men did not go around beating up all the bitches they seen and then, and went back to the cave. No, women had to survive because woman can't survive on her own on earth. So woman did whatever she had to do to get the man's attention, to get that protection. You see, and this is where modern feminists had the order completely fucked up and confused, and they're just retarded in this arena, right? They have the order completely wrong. So when you go back to laws and religion, laws severely predate religion. Religion was just the evolution of explanation, right? The like Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Egyptian mythology, that shit was just the evolution of explanation. But laws pre-existed all this shit by far, right? By far. Hexagon on Saturn says, you inspire me to do some serious introspection. Thanks. Yo, what's up, Jen? Yeah, I hope you're doing well, man. Yeah, I don't know if you got my last email, but I hope you're doing well. But yeah. Okay, so where we at? Okay, yeah. So he continues. And he has persisted in doing so. During the period of preoccupation with morality, he did not interpret his lofty and sublime moral states as voluntary or as the work of the person. Even the Christian divides his personality into a weak and mesquine, I don't know what that word is, fiction, which he calls man, and other fiction, which he calls man, and other fiction, which he calls God, Redeemer, Savior. Well, yeah. Let me look up this word, because actually I don't know what this word means. Never heard that word. Mesquine? What's this mean? Am I pronouncing it right, maybe? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Okay. Mesquine, feminine singular of mesquine. What's that? Oh, it's a French word, I'm assuming. I'm actually curious because I don't know what this word means. Mesquine. Petty. Mean-spirited. Okay. Like a mean-spirited fiction. Okay. So I see. Yeah, he's saying religion is pretty much just a mean-spirited fiction. So religion has degraded the very idea of man. Its ultimate consequence is that all goodness, greatness, and truth are superhuman, and all are bestowed by grace alone. Yeah. All good. So let me reread that because I like that. Religion has degraded the very idea of man. Its ultimate consequence is that all goodness, greatness, and truth are superhuman and are bestowed by grace alone. Yeah. Yeah. So translation, motherfuckers out there are they don't understand. Okay, and this is just a common thing in humanity. People don't know how to just be good people, right? People just don't like, as again, it's that being alone and making a genuine thought and opinion about anything. People do not know how to just be a good person. Like, it's like for more example, I would say, and this is a big difference in my experience between Europe and the U.S. In the U.S., laws are pushed, fines and laws are directing people to be better, right? Whereas what I've seen pretty much once I've left the U.S., it's more a society and culture to be good and normal, right? Maybe not as individuals, but like as a society and a culture. Whereas again, in America, the police are predatory. So any of you guys, if anybody's watching from America, the police are predatory. You know what I'm talking about. The police are predatory. I remember I drove to Lidl on my way home, and there was a police car sitting in the parking lot. And even now, I still get these. When I see a police car, like a part of me still kind of like flinches a bit because I'm used to that predatory American police where they get promotions for giving you tickets and shit like that because they trying to be the hero all the time. I'm still on it. It still fucks with me, right? And I got remember like, yo, like fines over here are like $10, dude. Like, and you can pay with cash, like on the spot. Like, and these motherfuckers are predatory. Cause I remember because I parked, and I remember when I got out the car, this was like 2 days ago. I got out the car thinking, like, if I was in America, this motherfucker probably would have came over, just asked me for registration, just to ask for registration. You know what I mean? Just to do it. Because that's American police. They're predatory, dude. Like, America, the culture in North America is more like, we're going to make you be decent, because, or else we'll just fine you or lock you up. So that kind of pushes more society to be decent and better, like, you know, as a whole in society, right? Whereas over here, it's more a cultural thing. That what pretty much in my experience, like again, once I said, like I said, pretty much once you leave the U.S., that predatory, that serious predatory shit is nowhere near as strong. But yeah, let me continue. React. So let me make sure, because if somebody sees, if they'll see I reading the book, so maybe it'll turn them off or turn them on. I don't, you know, so they know I'm reading. I think I put it in the title that I'm reading tonight. Anyway, let's continue. A form of religion to create national pride. This goes into a whole topic. A form of religion to create national pride. The theory of affinity was another way of lifting man out of the degradation brought about by the rejection of his own lofty and strong states as something alien to himself. These lofty and strong states could at least be interpreted as the influence of our ancestors, with whom we are related and stand in solidarity. We grow in our own estimation by acting in accordance with the familiar standard they represent. This is an attempt on the part of noble families to reconcile their religion with their own sense of self-respect. Yes, and that, yeah, he's totally right on that. Pride, a form of religion to create national pride. So let's dive a bit more into that. And this is done. This is done intentionally, right? And okay, and when I say this, what I'm getting ready to say, I don't want this to be interpreted as the government's after you. That's not my objective. My objective is to see why governments exist and why they're doing what they have to do with our culture. Okay, so step one, you have to remember the people run the country. The government is essentially the government is a fiction, right? It's made up. We just agreed that this is Ohio, right? It's fiction. States and governments are fiction made up by humans, and we all just agreed that, yes, this is Idaho. This is Slovenia. We agree to it. It's our fiction, right? That's step one. You have to remember, right? Now, yeah, it's enforceable fiction, you know, and it's all worked out to where it is now, but it's a fiction, right? We've made it up, right? So when it comes to religion, 2 days ago on a live stream, I think, when I was talking about how the Industrial Revolution was the big changing game in how cultures just operated, right? It changed how people went to work. It changed it changed entire family dynamics for good. It changed humanity as we knew it at that time. Well, how it grew. It created, and the creative destruction from it destroyed countries, right? Just like McDonald's destroyed certain food industries when McDonald's first came out. That was creative destruction. The Industrial Revolution was creative destruction, right? Step two, the thing you have to remember is the legitimate, define what is peace, right? How do you define peace in terms of governing a people, right? So peace is not sitting down and going, oh, I don't have to worry about somebody coming to beat me up this week. This is not peace. in terms of governing a people. This is not peace. What peace is sitting down and going and not even being able to think for a second that somebody might come beat you. It's so foreign to you. You can't even entertain the idea that this could happen. That's peace, right? So to put into example, for those of you in America, let's use America, because that's where I'm from. Let's use America as an example, right? Have you ever given thought that Vermont could not like Missouri and want to go to war with Missouri? Didn't even cross your, I tell you, it didn't even cross your fucking mind. Because you're living in peace, right? You don't even stop and think for a second that Ohio might get mad at Georgia and want to go, nowadays. That Ohio might want to fight, California, and we go out to war because, Jesus, we don't agree where Jesus, ate dinner at, right? You mean? Like, it didn't even, see, that is peace. The fact that you can't even entertain, you've never even stopped to even think that could happen, right? That's peace. So, after those two steps, create the national pride, right? A form of religion to create national pride. Where religion comes into this is to unify all those people under one watcher, right? You unify them under one watcher. Now, peace, all this is luck. There is no carbon copy way to say, okay, this will work on this group of people. This will work over, because people are unpredictable, right? They're predictable, yet they're very unpredictable. You can't go into a country and say, yeah, we're going to do this and this is going to work. America has tried that many times and failed. Right? You can't. People are unpredictable. But where the industrial, and I keep going back to the Industrial Revolution. I'm just on an Industrial Revolution fad right now, and how bad that and what that really did. It forced people to become more reliant on the state, the country, the whatever, right? Because now that they're going out and they're spending all their time at work, at a warehouse, factory, office, now that they're going out, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, the person lose their self. They will lose their sense of individuality, right? So now all they have to identify themselves by is what they can buy and what country they live in, state, country, whatever. That's majority of people on earth. This is going to be their only sense of identity, right? Because they're not going to have any time to think. And this is where religion can continue to piggyback off this shit, right? It can continue just to keep piggybacking and from needing a father or mother, a watcher, to needing something to identify as. You know how many people are out there working great jobs, 5 days a week, whatever the fuck, and they have no true sense of identity? So what do they do to gain identity? Buy a nicer car. Maybe say they're religious in some sense. They give them some sense of identity. So if they have to come, to prove themselves, oh, well, I'm a religious man, I'm a religious woman, just to give themselves any sense of identity, right? Because at this point, you're working 5 days a week. You work five. Let's say you're working 5 days a week, 8 hour days. It's going to take 30 minutes to get to work, so that's an extra hour. So you say 9-10 hour days, and in total, you get home. Well, now you got to wash clothes or cook and clean, whatever the fuck. There's no time for you to gain an independent personality. You see what I'm saying? And I don't mean to say this to sound like, to make anybody depressed, but this is where our culture is as humanity. This is where we are as humans now, right? This is just where we are. I'm not trying to say this to make anybody feel bad or good about their situation, but this is where we are. And this is where religion just continues to piggyback as a status symbol, right? Now, in some countries, some areas, it's fading, but it's still there. And the thing is, it's there tax-free. right? It's essentially a YouTube channel. You know what I mean? You know, it's essentially, it's just sitting there. They don't have to pay. Okay. And the reason why that tax-free shit comes in was so here's another a quick history lesson. The reason why churches don't pay taxes and never will, well, there's a good chance they probably never will, goes back to I want to say is the Temple of Solomon. The Templars. So Assassin's Creed, right? The Templars were actually like the good guys in real history. So what the Templars did was, again, I'll probably dot a T across the I. What the Templars did, they went to go protect the tomb of Solomon. Is it the tomb of Solomon? Or it was a place of worship that I want to say the Muslims were going to destroy, right? Because, you know, conflicting religious beliefs. The Muslims were going to destroy it, and the Templars were going there to protect it from being destroyed by the Muslims. I might dot a T across the I. But and so when it came out that the Templars had been going to do this, well, their country was like, oh, like y'all doing this to protect our faith. Okay, well, you guys never have to pay taxes again. If you're going there to protect, you know, our faith, where our ancestors went to go worship, one of the first places of worship. Since you're doing that for our country, we will never make you pay taxes for protecting that shit, right? And it's kind of a sad story because in the end, when the country ran out of money, the country actually lied on the Templars, because the Templars grew because after doing that, of course, back then again, religion was the shit. That was the bee's knees back then, right? It was all you fucking had. Motherfuckers joined them, they donated to them, they gave them shit, and the Templars never paid taxes. So the Templars end up rich as fuck, right? Them motherfuckers end up wealthy, right? Not rich. Them motherfuckers ended up, relatively speaking, wealthy. With a Steve Harvey H, wealthy, right? So I want to say, I can't remember where the fuck they originated from, but the country ended up going broke. And the king, you know, when motherfuckers go broke, they start turning on people. The king turned on the Templars, made up a bunch of bullshit lies, and had the Templars burned at the stake and stole all their money and put it back in the government. It was a fucked up story. But the start of not paying any taxes, that's essentially where, at least what I put together, where it came from, was the Templars. The Knights of the Templars, I think, is what it was called. My friend thinks money somehow guarantees peace. Oh yeah, see, but let me tell you something. Yeah. And this is something I always talk about with people I know in my real life, is money. Look, okay, if history will tell you anything, which I'm horrible at history, by the way, I'm terrible with history. But from what I can gather from history is, if history will tell you anything, money isn't going to do shit for you, but make you a target, right? Perfect example was in North America. The reason why one big reason why North America became North America was because the Spanish had a good chunk of North America, but they had the land, but they couldn't do anything with it. I can't. Yeah. The Spanish had it first. They had the land, but you got this land, now you got to pay to protect it, right? Because if you don't protect whatever you have of value, well, now you just a sitting duck. You know what I mean? So what did the Spanish do? They sold it to the French. The French tried to keep it for a while. And the French just said, look, we can't afford to keep this motherfucker going. And they just gave it to North America, because they went off on their own ventures, right? Just because you have a lot of money means absolutely nothing in terms of peace. Right? I mean, as long as everybody's playing into the current culture's fiction, you can just buy your way to peace. But as soon as that fiction, when you fuck around, come across a motherfucker like me or somebody more gangster than me who don't care about that fiction and can turn that off like that, that money ain't gonna do nothing. It can't do it. Because I'm not that gangster, right? I'm not trying to say I'm the most gangster motherfucker on earth. There's motherfuckers who got me like, you wild. But I know how to turn that shit off, right? I can recognize fiction, right? You come across that motherfucker, okay, you come across a motherfucker who run up on you with a knife, that black card in your wallet ain't gonna do shit, right? That credit card in your pocket ain't gonna do shit if a motherfucker run up on you with a knife or a gun. What you think that credit card gonna come out and protect you real quick? Be like, hey, I got money on me, and you just be protected? No, like Mo says at this point of the current affairs, it's battle of emotions and logic. Word up, yeah. Levon says, I have always thought, who came up with the shapes of each continent back in the day? They didn't have spaceships to go in outer space to confirm it. Oh, so I have actually real quick, I have a book right here about that. That's just wild. If you look into the history of maps and how they would draw it and how they would like figure it out. I don't know if you ever looked into it lately, Levon. But the math that was I forget what that dude's name was, because I'm absolutely awful with names. But a lot of understanding where you were was figured out like 2,000 years ago. It was completely like the math was really better than it gets, for their time period. Like it was, I want to say this was in ancient Greece. They had figured that, and it was before that they had figured this shit out through crazy math. And I'm not that good with math, or I never really paid that period too much attention. But that was figured out a long ago. Then other people, but the growth of maps would hit these periods where they would like stop for a while and start again, or just like the innovation on how to draw a map. Actually, let me grab this book. I got it right here. So the first, because this actually has one of the first maps. Where is it at? Here it is. Yeah. So this was essentially one of the first like big maps, because back then, from Europe's perspective, that's all they knew. They just knew like that was like that Mesopotamia area was essentially Asia, Africa, and Europe, and that was the map, right? Then it grew. The more they kept traveling. Again, maps are only it's only from your perspective of what you've seen and what you know. Then it grew to here. So this is going to be essentially Africa. This is Asia, and all this is going to be Europe up here. And they would get the shit wrong. Of course, they gonna get it wrong. They didn't know all the cities, blah blah blah, da da da. But the history of maps is pretty for me, man. I get a better a part of me is just gets really hit hard when I look at how maps developed. When I really look at how maps develop. And there's a lot of misinformation. I stumbled across one guy on YouTube who said how Antarctica had been found a long, it was on one of the first maps, which is just not true. That's just not true. And this is where you got to look out for with social media. There's a lot of people just saying just horrifically bad shit, completely just wrong shit, and making little snippets on YouTube and shit like that. Just sharing just completely wrong information, and they're saying it as if they're a legit person who studies it, and it's just horrible information. Just looking at maps at how far they knew shit, it gives me a deeper insight to a person is only going to know what they know at the time. And it makes me feel so much smaller to know that I'm just in my time period. What are motherfuckers going to figure out 100 years from now? How are they going to look back at this and be like, that motherfucker AD was dumb? He couldn't have known because they didn't have a transverter 2.9. So there's no way he could have known, that type of shit. Wow. Javi says, I'm the only one in my friend groups who doesn't aspire to be rich. If it happens, it happens. I just want to be in a position where I can support my mother and father. Yeah. And I say, yeah, that's a very healthy perspective, I would say. I say, yeah, now I got a son, so now all I care about is that he gets a good education, he learns, All I care about is my son. At this point in my life, all I care about is making sure my son gets a good education, so he knows how to do something, right? That he's healthy, one, and two, that he gets a good education, right? And luckily, I'm in Europe, so he'll get to go to school for, if relative from his perspective, free. So I'm happy, right? Money can come and go as it will, as long as he's healthy, and I know he'll get to learn something along the way. I'm happy. Let me read this other comment. Seaboy for Life says, that's why I say alpha is a state of mind. It's not an action. It's not a claim. It's how you move through the world. Rich is an alpha. A politician is an alpha. A politician is an alpha job. Yeah. Because being rich, dude, anybody can stumble on $1 million in their mailbox. I mean, see, look, you can hand anybody $1 million, right? Anybody can go in there and buy a lottery ticket and win. Now, are the odds severely against you? Of course, yeah. Was it 100 to the 6th power? Like 100 to the 7th power? Awful. I mean, of course the odds are against you. Anybody can be handed money, right? But anybody can't be intellectually aware and well-rounded. I mean, that takes but that's another area where I think about of how where time is going. Because I think about this shit, like I'm sitting down doing all this reading, and which I do love to, or just like learn. Is like, here's the thing, even on my worst time period, I'm living in another country where I could learn another language, right? So even at my baseline of doing nothing, I'm still doing something extra, right? So, but I think, in the future, it'll probably get to the point where you just like in Cyberpunk, or like in the Matrix, you just like download some knowledge and boom, it's there. Like you don't gotta, motherfuckers ain't gonna have to read and know nothing. They just, pop it in their brain and they could just Google it in their brain like that and know whatever they need to know, right? But yeah, let me continue with this. Okay, yeah, so I left off with religion becoming the identity and national pride. Yeah. Yeah, so let's continue with this next section. How long is this other section? I might do two more. It's 8:30. I might do 2 more sections. So this next one is transfiguration, temporary metamorphosis. Poets and seers do the same thing. Let me Google the word seer before I go further, just to make sure I know what it means. He says poets and seers. I'm just Googling it just so I know what the fuck it means. Seer. Oh, shit. Okay, what is a person who's a seer? A person credited with extraordinary moral and spiritual insight. Okay. Poets and seers do the same thing. They feel proud to have been singled out for the honor of such dealings and place great value on not being regarded as individuals, but as mere mouthpieces. Referencing Homer. Yet another form of religion. God chooses, God becomes man, God dwells among men, bestowing great blessings. A local legend is presented as an immortal drama. Man gradually takes possessions of the loftiest and proudest states of his works and deeds. Formerly, people believed that they honored themselves. That they honored themselves by assigning responsibility for their loftiness deeds, not to themselves, but to God. The involuntariness of a deed was thought to give it greater value. At that time, a god was taken to be its author. Yeah. Priests are actors who play the role of something superhuman, which must be made manifest. Be it ideals or gods and saviors, they have an instinct for this sort of thing and have made it their vocation. In order to make all this as credible as possible, they must go as far as possible in assimilating themselves to their role. Above all, their actors' cunning must obtain for themselves a good conscience, by the aid of which alone they can be truly convincing. Okay, so real fast, let's touch on priests. Catholic priests, right? So do you know why? Does anybody know why Catholic priests are not allowed to have children and not allowed to have sex? Because I'm going to go into that real fast. Because priests are totally fucking actors. It's all a fucking act. It's all fiction. Priests are totally, and I agree with them. The reason why priests are not allowed to have children or have sex, unless they've made a new revision of the Bible to try to keep control over people, there was never anything that would even infer a priest would not be able to have sex or have children. The reason why priests were not allowed to have children because they used to be allowed to have sex, right? They used to be, and it was stopped. The reason why it was stopped is because when you're a priest, like Nietzsche just stated, you end up pretty much a vassal for God, right? You're doing the goodwill of God, and you're learning, especially back in these days, you're learning all the ins and outs of all the people, all the confessions, whatever the fuck, how everybody sinned, where they sinned, how they sinned. So you now know society better than society knows itself. And what happens when this happens? Just like what the British did to India, you end up owning them, right? Different way, same ending, right? When you end up knowing that society better than that society knows itself, you end up owning them. And that's what the Catholic Church was. That's what the priests were, right? So what happens? Well, now that you know you're a priest, you know all the ins and outs, all the negatives, what everybody's doing, you will now put your kid, when it comes time for your kids to need, extra shit, you know how to work the people and work the system to get your kids into higher jobs, higher respect, and into the higher stage, in the higher portions of the hierarchy, right? Because now you know, as a priest, you essentially have power over the fucking king. Right? Indirect power, but still, you're pretty much the only group who can even confront the king on anything, right? And have a good chance at winning, right? Through manipulation or through directness, right? So as this was being seen, this had been seen, right, over decades, that this is what priests were doing. They would bring their kids up, and when their kids came up, their kids would always end up in these positions of power, and it would end up being more corrupt. So after that was found out, that's when the law was made that priests could not have sex and they could not have children, to stop that power, to stop that growth of power. That's how that came to be, right? Elijah says, yeah, with the growth of time comes evolution. 20, 30 years from now, how people will look down on other people who have Androids. They might do that with iPhone 20, 30 years from now. There might be that new hot trendy phone that's so popular that iPhone that was once hot for like 13 years won't be. Oh yeah, dude. Elijah, oh yeah, iPhone's day is coming too at some point. The younger kids are gonna be roasting motherfuckers with iPhones. Like, you old motherfucker? You got an iPhone? What you 90 years old? You got an iPhone? Fuck you doing that old shit? So yeah. Where you at? I lost place where I'm at. Let's just start right here. Wait, did I fucking... Oh, yeah, okay, here I am. Okay, yeah. So, the end of this section is... Oh, yeah, okay, no, I read it. So, I'll read one more section, and I'll just, like, kind of chill out with the comments. Or maybe, like, run my fucking mouth longer. So, 2 more pages. Here we go. So, origins of morality. The priest wants to establish that he is to be regarded as the highest type of man, that he reigns even over those who possess worldly power, that he is invulnerable, unassailable, that he is the strongest power in the community, absolutely not to be superseded or underestimated. This means he employs are as follows. He alone is all-knowing. He alone is virtuous. He alone has an indomitable will. He alone, in a certain sense, God, and has his origin in the Godhead. He alone is the intermediary between God and others. The Godhead punishes every passing thought in opposition to the priest and every disadvantage opposed on him. Yeah. Further means include the truth exists. There is only one way of obtaining it, and that is to become a priest. Yeah. Everything which is good in the social order, in nature, or in tradition can be traced back to the wisdom of the priest. The holy book is their work. The whole of nature is but an execution of its laws. No source of goodness exists apart from the priest. Every other kind of excellence, e.g., that of the king, is of an entirely different order from that of the priest. Yeah. So yeah. Again, religion is just an evolution of explanation of its time. That's all it is. So in other words, what he's saying is, to elaborate on how I said earlier, these monolithic religions, once these became a thing, it severely became this us versus them. Because when it's a religion where it's many gods, that us versus them was nowhere near. It essentially didn't exist, right? Because if you didn't like one god, well, you can like another god, and if you didn't like those two gods, you like this other god, right? But that ability to rationalize was still there in these in these formats. As long as there's more than one, that ability to rationalize was still there. But once these monolithic religions, where it's one God, it's one Jesus, it's one whoever the fuck, that's when this whole us versus them shit starts, right? Because that one God knows everything, right? So if you don't agree with that one God, then you against that one God. This is literally the evolution of understanding, because what does this have in common with life relatively outside of these areas? Being a barbarian. Either you're with us or you're a barbarian. So for those of you who don't know, just to make clear what a barbarian is essentially any group of people or person who is different from you, who has different walk, culture, thoughts. They're the barbarians, right? Because when I was younger, I used to think barbarians was like, just like like Italians, for lack of better words. Like I thought like it was just like a group of a group of people like the Vandals. Like I thought barbarians was like the Vandals, right? So I'll give a quick lesson on the Vandals too. But I thought it was like its own, country, right? But no, a barbarian is any. But again, religion is just an evolution of explanation, right? And now we have science, and that's where religion is in its. This is where religion is in its other reconfiguration, right? Because as science began to grow, that little bit of people aligning with logic is now becoming infatuated with, okay, is this Jesus's actual robe? Let's run a DNA test on it, right? Now it's bringing out that people cannot help but to at least apply some type of backing logic to it, right? And the religious communities, they'll fight it because, logic is going to always, prove them wrong. But again, I'm not against, a lot. I'm not against a religion. I'm not totally against it. I can find admirable qualities about religion. A lot of it's complete bullshit, but I find, I find it admirable. I still watch my dad's church's pastor from time to time on Facebook. I find it admirable. Is it bullshit? Of course. But it has, its benefit to it. Is what I'm trying to say. Oh yeah, real quick lesson on the Vandals. So I can't remember exactly where the Vandals. So the Vandals were an actual people, and this is just a real quick summary. The Vandals were actually a people, right? But what they did was so fucked up that it got remembered in damn near every country's language. of you being a vandal if you just like if you know passionately destroy some shit for no reason, right? So I want to say they I can't remember exactly where they fit in because I'm drawing a blank now because now I'm thinking about the Goths, and I'm getting all this shit. I get all that jumbled up. When the Oligoths or whatever, they came down and fucked up the empire, and I'm getting all that. The Germans essentially the not the Germans the the Germans essentially got their ass beat by Attila, and they ran down and they had to fight the empire. And but the Vandals came when the Vandals came to town, they just destroyed shit just for fun. The motherfuckers was just like fucking shit up, and they did such a good job at fucking shit up that his histories law books will call you essentially like an American, like a vandal. That's like saying like if you do something like in a law book, they say yeah you're an American because you did something in a law book. That's what a vandal is. So vandalism, they were a people. They were, you know. So yeah, that was I just wanted to make clear what that was. You're funny as hell, AD. Oh, thanks. So even back then, the tech was outpacing culture too. Fire was one of the first tech available. Yeah. So I'm thinking about another religion that gets a really bad name. Cause fire was another one of those things that actually I got a book over there. Let me show you guys this other book. So fire wasn't just like okay, so like with witchcraft, black magic, fire was another one of those things that after those monolithic, after like the major mainstream religions took off, fire was another one of those things that kind of that pretty much got turned the opposite. Like where it was once it was something everybody did and loved because they thought it worked or for whatever reason, it got flipped to being considered evil, like hell, fire, right? So I got this book too. History of Magic, Witchcraft, and the Occult. And I'm gonna buy it. And it just goes over all types of shit. It's really about the history of what. So right now, I think, yeah, I'm on Norse magic now. What they were doing. So I love this shit not because really of the religion, but just to see that we had been doing that. Like we're like Christians, you're not doing anything special. Catholics, you're not doing anything special. Buddhists, you're nothing special. Since time, dude, this is what humans do. Your religion is nothing special. I hate to break it to you. You're not the first one to do it. Okay? You're not the first one to think okay, religion will always come back to the same three things. Always. It will always come back to the same three things. The only reason you're even doing it. Anybody would even consider doing it. You want riches and wealth. You are in love with somebody and you want them to love you back. Or you want to do harm to somebody who did harm to you. You want them to be repaid. Every case, it will always come down to it will always come down to one of those three things, and or one of those three things will always bring you back to it. It's the same thing. Your religion is absolutely nothing special. Your religion was not the first to do it, and it's not going to be the last one to do it. That's just the one that caught on at the moment. And coming to that realization can be mind blowing when you genuinely get to like study the history of humans and humanity, and why we've always done what we've done. We're doing nothing. Okay, religion now is doing nothing different than motherfuckers dancing for rain. We're just doing what's more culturally acceptable, which is getting on your knees and praying. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. Them Negroes still dancing for rain. White, black, Spanish, Asian, whatever Negro you are. They out there dancing for rain. It's the same shit. Same shit. As a Buddhist, I'm insulted. However, I have no attachment to my anger, so I'm at peace. I was raised by a super religion Protestant. Now I cultivate a blasphemous attitude. My peers think I worship the devil, but I'm just trying to break my slave thinking. Yeah, Hexagon. Yeah, so I tell you, yeah, with that shit, man, when it comes to, yeah, because again, the monolithic religions will always go back to, if you're not with us, then you're immediately automatically against us. And this is just a human reaction, right? Like I said, when you touch, especially when you touch on sensitive topics like rape or, child sexual abuse or whatever the fuck, like it's that thing. And it's just what we do as a society, right? If, like in my live stream last week where I talked about the pedophile dude, and where I said, like, I don't think he did it. Because everything in that case sound too perfect, right? Now, society would take that and automatically think that, AD must be a pedophile because he doesn't immediately immediately just want to kill the dude, right? It's that same thing. It's what we do, right? It's just what humans do. But when it comes to worshiping the devil, like, okay, that goes into, that's a whole, I've been down that road tons, and I've had to explain it. People are stupid, okay? For lack of better words, people are stupid, and they're not even brave enough to realize they're stupid. A lot of them, right? Again, read the Satanic Bible. I would recommend that. Actually look into demonology. I would highly recommend that for anybody. I would recommend anybody to and also study the Bible, right? Both. I'm not trying to negate either side of it on a religious standpoint. My thing is to just get through that. Religion is nothing special. It's nothing new and nothing special. We've always, from the time after the time man evolved into creating better explanations for shit, religion has always been, right? It's always been. And then after the time, let's say when we genuinely began to start having kings, and I mean like a real king, not like a king of 10, 15 people, but I mean a king of like a massive group of people, right? Essentially, the religion was that king, and then that king worshipped, the sky, the stars, whatever the fuck, right? Because they were desperately looking for an explanation, right? We're curious. Humans are curious, and we'll do anything. We'll do anything within our range of knowledge to get answers. We're curious. Nothing wrong with it. But anybody who genuinely seeks out knowledge will tell you to study anybody who is alongside, who agrees with you, and study people who don't agree with you. Right? That's how you're going to get the best overall well-rounded logic on anything, is to study both sides and everybody in between that you can. I would highly recommend, because the Bible has great stories. I found this one YouTube channel that was fucking great. It's this religious channel, and they made, it was a Christian channel, and they made not cartoons, but like still comics almost of stories. I watched it for like 3 hours. I thought it was fucking great. A little ridiculous sometimes because, of course, the story. But I mean, but I thought it was excellent. I'm not joking. I watched it. Let me see if I can find it. I probably won't be able to because that was a while ago. I'll share it if I can find it. It's fucking amazing. I don't know, because it was a story. I left off at the story of Job. because okay, with stories like Job, for those of you who don't know, okay, so the story of Job was a guy who, because back then these motherfuckers was living till they was like 500 years old, right? But how they know how old they were? You know what I mean? These motherfuckers. How you know how old you was, Job? but the real quick, the story of Job. He was some. I can't. Okay, I'm not gonna go because I get his backstory confused too. Because Cain and Abel. I want to say he was a son of Cain of the brother who he was a son of one of them Cain and Abel motherfuckers. I want to say that, but don't hold me on that. But the story of Job was essentially a story of a man who held on to his faith, right? And you gotta admire him. You cannot not admire Job for that. You cannot read the story of Job or watch the story of Job and be like, man, this motherfucker's like, no, you have to admire that. You have to be able to admire that the story of Job stood by what he believed in no matter what. God killed he killed everybody around. No, was it God or the devil? I can't remember. I think it was the devil. God gave the devil the permission or something like that. But Job lost everything, dude. And he got diseases. He lost all his hair, whatever the fuck. All like that, just to test. Because the devil wanted to test Job to see if Job would give up on God. That was the whole purpose behind that shit, right? And it's a fucked up story. I had a hard time trying to read it long time ago because I hate watching other people suffer like that. But it was the overall theory of the story was Job held on to his belief after losing everything. And he would cry to the sky like, God, why are you doing this? Like, I still have my belief in you. And on top of that, Job's own homeboys was saying, look, man, God don't give a fuck about you, dude. Look what he did. And Job was like, nope, I still believe in God, right? And he held on to that shit. That motherfucker was Goku, all right? Let's be real about it. That motherfucker was Goku in the tournament of power. That motherfucker did not give up. That motherfucker lost his Super Saiyan in the first 10. He couldn't even turn Super Saiyan no more. That motherfucker was done. Right? Job was essentially Goku in my eyes. Like, this motherfucker held on, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now. Look, I'm going to tell you right now. If I'm in Job's position, I'm going to tell God, look, hey, deuces, bro. Look, I'm going to give up. I ain't even going to pretend like I'm not. All right? I'm going to be the first motherfucker to say, hey, devil, you taking applications? I'll be the first motherfucker with my iPad and Apple Pencil, huh? Oh, you want my CV, Satan? Well, this is... No, I'm joking, but for real, you know what I mean? I'm joking. I'll be the first motherfucker. I know I ain't that strong. Motherfucker, I already know I ain't that strong. I know I'm not that strong. But here's the thing, though. When it comes to religion, it's always that motherfucker who's going to take that story the wrong way. And they get to believe in some old wild shit and don't give up on it and fuck around. Like what's the Jonestown Massacre? Is that it? Let me Google. I think it's the Jonestown Massacre. See, it ended up being that shit turns into motherfuckers like the Jonestown Massacre. And see, shit like that is why. Let me make sure I'm the Jonestown. Let me make sure I'm quoting the right shit. Yeah, by Jim Jones. Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is what I'm talking about. See, you end up with motherfuckers like the Jonestown Massacre after stories like Job because a lot of motherfuckers they're not well-rounded, intelligent, you know what I mean? Like to really be like, okay, that might not be a good idea in this situation. You know what I mean? They just take the word of the Bible and that's it. And they'll twist it in their own mentally and end up in a Jonestown. So if I remember correctly, what the Jonestown Massacre was, was that the one where they believed that if they had killed themselves by a certain day that they would all go to heaven, and parents were injecting their kids with So this is where the term like drink the Kool-Aid, where it comes from. They drink the Kool-Aid. So they poison the Kool-Aid to kill each other with, because they believe that if they were to die at a certain time or something like that, they would go to heaven, that God was going to take them in, and they were holding on to their belief. And parents were giving their kids Kool-Aid with poison in it, and they all died. They killed themselves. A whole bunch of people killed themselves. And see, this is the dangers of religion. Like, and see, this is, everything has a positive and negative. But yeah, so a lot of motherfuckers a lot of people don't need to be out here thinking. You know what I mean? Like, a whole lot of motherfuckers don't need to be out here thinking like that. A lot of motherfuckers, you need to throw them in a warehouse and hope they just scan some shit and shut the fuck up. Because a lot of people out here, they not mentally good. Right? In the end, Job got double riches. Yeah, double the riches. Yeah. He ended up getting a whole bunch of shit, which that tells people, and that all that does, in my opinion, just tells people it's okay, as long as you just keep believing in what you want to believe in, that you gonna get paid for it. You know what I mean? In the back end. And again, man, that's the downside with it. A whole lot of humans out there just do not know how to think independently. You know what I mean? Like, a whole lot of people just don't know how to apply rational thought to shit. And those are the dangers of religion. Where did I stop at? Okay, I stopped over here because I was going to finish this last part. Okay, so lastly, the priest has taught one kind of morality in order to be considered the highest type of man. He then conceives the opposite type of man, the Shadala, the outcast, whom the priest now degenerates by every available means, so that the outcast might serve as a foil to the order of castes. Similarly, this extreme fear in the face of sensuality is also due to the realization that the sensuality is the most serious threat to the order of castes, i.e. to order in general. Yeah. After all, every moral liberal tendency in puncto puncti throws the marriage laws to the winds. Yeah. So, yeah. So long story short, the religion... The religion is written in such a way that will keep people coming back to it, and will have, and like I said earlier, the religions are going to be written in such a way that all the safety nets have been thought of and revised into Bibles, right? To keep you from questioning, doubting, whatever the fuck, right? This is why they get revised, right? These, if anybody questions or doubted, well, now it's us against them. If anybody even thought to even bring up any extra thought outside of me, it's us against them. Yeah, and this is what and it's a beautiful strategy. It really is. I can't pretend it's not. It really is. It's a quite beautiful, creative strategy. Only one Lord says, God told the devil to do anything you want, but don't kill. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Do anything you want, but don't kill him. Yeah. But he can just do anything to everybody else. But yeah, that is. But again, like I'm not like hating. I mean, sometimes I'll get frustrated on a personal level with religion. It's like, because if you really think about it, it's like, of course, okay, because I grew up in Christianity, so my thing is this, of course Jesus is going to talk. Is he like, okay, in that position, of course Jesus is going to walk around talking about don't worry about nothing, everything going to be all right. I mean, my dad going to take care of all of us. We cool, baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course he going to be chill. His dad is the boss. I mean, like, of course, this motherfucker, he's not going to be afraid to die. Because he know what's gonna happen after it. You know what I mean? Like, he knows. Like, of course he's gonna be chill about it. He ain't gonna have a worry in the world because he know where he going. Okay, right now, just as an example, let's use an example. Let's say I'm gonna put you in a car and tell you just start driving and just start driving 12 hours that way. You don't even know what's out there. Just start driving, right? Just start driving. You're gonna be like, well, I don't know what's gonna be. I don't know what's gonna be. You gonna be, versus me, who, if I've already driven that road, I know what's out there. I'm not gonna be nervous or scared because I know what's there. So, like, in this religion, it's like, in Christianity, it's like, of course Jesus ain't gonna be, of course he gonna be chilling. I mean, he sitting, put his feet up on the table, eating popcorn, chilling. Ain't nothing to worry about. Because he knows. You know what I mean? Like, oh, real quick, which this was a great show. Because after I watched the stories, I was watching The Chosen. It's this show, but it has clips on YouTube called The Chosen, and I've been meaning to show it to my girl. And it just follows Jesus, right? I think it was 2 shows that were really good, but The Chosen is the one I think that I liked. It just follows Jesus, right? And I think it's well shot. I think all the actors do. It does sometimes get a little awkward because, what I mean, like, was Jesus really talking like that? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it gets a little awkward, like when they just be in conversations and it sounds like they just reading it straight out the Bible, which I get why they doing that, but it's like, come on, like, was he really talking like that? Well, he really said something like that. But no, I think The Chosen is a great show. Well, I've only seen clips of it, but I was hooked on The Chosen watching clips of it for like a good hour at minimum. I think it's great. Much as I'm fucking cussing, them motherfuckers will be like, don't mention us in your live streams. But I think it's fucking great. I think I would recommend anybody watch a clip. Let me see here. Let me pull it up. I'm not gonna play it because it's probably gonna be copyrighted. Because good old religion, it ain't about money until they need it. Then it's about money. Nothing like good old religion. It ain't never about it. Oh, you shouldn't. No, yeah, it's not about money until they want it. Then it's about money. Yeah, this is it. Let me switch it. Hang on, let me switch this so you can see it. Where we at? Here we are. Okay. Okay, yeah, Streamlabs is doing this ridiculous shit again. So I gotta click this off for some reason. Yeah, there it is right there. Yep, okay. Yeah, this show. I think they did a great fucking job. So the dude right here, the dude on the right, is it gonna zoom in? Oh, okay. Here, so the dude on the right is a dude who's playing Jesus. Oh, you can't see my mouse. The dude in the black jacket on the right is a dude who plays Jesus. And I think they did a great fucking job. I think it's a great fucking. I haven't watched the whole show, but again, I've watched clips of it. I think it's amazing. I think it's. Oh, I watched this one. Jesus heals at the pool. But to be honest though, like on the comedy, it do kind of get kind of repetitive. You know what I mean? Because it always be Jesus. He always just end up just be kind of walking somewhere talking about some. And he just end up like healing somebody in 2 minutes. Like at first it'd be cool, but then it'd be like, wait a minute, he just always kind of walking. This shit, like, it's kind of funny. I think it's funny after a while. But yeah, I think it's a great show. Oh, these are the whole episodes. I watched the whole episode then. I didn't see this. I just stumbled on watching clips of it. But I think it's great. Even though I talk about religion and saying there's a bunch of bullshit, I see, yeah, this is where he talked to the Samaritan woman. It's good. I can't complain. I would recommend it if you're interested in it. If you're interested in religion, or if anybody's religious, I would totally recommend watching The Chosen for sure. Even the Bible itself says that people will use God. Oh, of course, yeah. The Bible says Jesus went through every emotion and every temptation he went through. He just mastered emotion and resisted temptation. He was the ultimate Giga Chad. Yeah, well, yeah. But then, well, wait, but then it's like, was he for real? I mean, because like, your daddy is God, so it's like, it's always for me. It's always that for real. I mean, like, you already. I mean, like, for real. Like, your daddy is God, though. So it's like, I can't really. It's like it would be like Will Smith's son trying to walk around and try to pretend to be broke and try to be admirable in life under his own actions. Like, a part of you gonna be like, but your daddy Will Smith though. You know what I mean? So, like, but your daddy Will Smith. That's just my perspective on it. But again, the character of Jesus is fucking great. I can't like I'm a big fan regardless. Because you can't be mad at a motherfucker like that walking around doing good shit. You can't be mad at him. It's something I would truly love to become one day. But in my honest, okay, if I got to be completely honest, I would respect just a regular man who did that shit, who didn't know, whose daddy wasn't God and he wasn't, and didn't know what was gonna happen next. I would respect Joe Schmo down the street a whole hell of a lot more than Will Smith's son. You know what I mean? Like, yo, daddy Will Smith. You gonna have, you already know you gonna get something. You know what I mean? You know. You know what I'm saying? Derek Lambamba don't know nothing. He just a regular old dude and still chose to do this. That deserves more respect. You know what I mean? That deserves Job deserves more respect, in my opinion of it. To hold on to that faith. Because you got to remember, dude, faith is a belief. You don't know. Faith is a belief. Jesus did not have faith. Jesus had knowledge. You know what I mean? Jesus knew what was going to happen. Right? Like Russian roulette. Okay, if you know the gun ain't loaded, you not brave. Right, this is not brave. This is nothing to amount your. If you know this gun ain't loaded, Russian roulette ain't nothing to you. Of course you're gonna talk shit. Yeah, shoot yourself in the head. Click, 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 click. But if you don't know that gun's not loaded and you play Russian roulette, that motherfucker deserves all the respect in my book to me. Like Batman said in Batman vs Superman, the only area in Batman vs Superman where I liked Ben Affleck, one was where he gave him a speech about the Puff Piece editorial when he first met Clark Kent. Ben Affleck did a great job in that scene, and the only other scene where I like Ben Affleck as Batman was when he said, "You're not brave. Men are brave." After he shot him with that kryptonite and he couldn't use his superpowers no more, and he was choking him, or he had him up, and he said, "You're not brave. Men are brave," and like slammed him through. He jumped on him through that window. You know what I mean? But that's just where I'm at with it. You know what I mean? Like it being brave versus having knowledge are two very different things, depending on the context. There's nothing brave about knowing that gun's not loaded and you go play Russian roulette. There's nothing really respectable about that, I mean, but not knowing if it's loaded or not, and then you go play Russian roulette. Now that takes courage, bravery, true courage. See, so you know what I'm saying. So and that again, the character of Jesus is definitely admirable, but it's like, you already know. You know what I mean? Like so in my opinion, the character of Jesus cannot genuinely be brave or courageous, or Jesus can genuinely not be righteous. You know what I mean? And I'm sounding like some antichrist shit, but in my theory, the character of Jesus is admirable, but in the whole scheme of things, the character of Jesus, in my opinion, cannot truly be admirable, cannot truly be genuine, cannot truly be righteous, because he already knew. You see, he already knows. On top of that, this motherfucker walk around with superpowers. So it's like this moment, like you can't, like you can't be, because you already know. That in itself defeats that whole logic. You know what I mean? To me, like it's like okay. So in my opinion, for Jesus to be truly genuine, to be truly righteous, to be truly all this, it fits almost into that same riddle of can God himself make a stone so heavy that he can't lift it himself? Right? That's a perfect riddle that God cannot work out of. Truly. God himself cannot truly work out of that riddle alone. Can God himself make a stone so heavy that he can't pick it up? There you go. Busted. Because if God can do anything, he can make a stone heavy that he can't lift it. Well, but then God can do anything, so he should be able to lift it. So you see, so God himself cannot truly get out of that statement. But yeah. I wonder is what happens after death. That's a good question. We don't know. As far as I know. I wish I knew. Then I'd be walking around talking shit. Like, yeah, motherfucker, yeah, man, don't just do good shit and chill out. Then I'd be walking around talking. Yeah, I've been there. You know what I mean? Yeah, just chill out. Ain't nothing wrong. Yeah. You all right? Just chill out. Ain't nothing wrong. But I can't die and come back yet, so I don't know. So I'm scared. You know what I mean? So that's it. I'm gonna get out of here because I stayed on too long anyway. I'm gonna get out of here. Okay, Breck says, yeah, I'll just say the incarnation says he was fully man as well as God. He wasn't just God pretending to be man, but was absolutely a man every way. Okay, word up, word up. How long are you staying? I'm getting ready to get off right now, Modern Dating Cuter, because I stayed on way too long as it is. I'm getting ready to get off right now. But yo, thanks everybody for tuning in, subscribing, anything like that. Again, my channel is not to hurt any feelings or bring anybody down. The reason for my channel is to just bring a different perspective. And yeah, just to bring a different perspective and possibly open. Now I sound like I'm a real antichrist type of shit. But just to bring a different perspective, to get your mind, get somebody's brain working in some sense, not to say anybody's stupid, but just to give a different perspective, because again, like I said, because I end out the stream on about religions, but again, your religion, no religion is anything special. It's human. Religion is just is fiction that humans make to find deeper explanations in anything. That's all it is. It's all it ever has been, right? People have done this, any country, anywhere, since the beginning of time, desperately searching for an explanation, right? That's it. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Oh shit, I'm missing. Oh, okay, is everybody okay? I see. Yeah, hope you stream tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna try to play a video game tomorrow. I'll probably try to play finish Ninja Turtles or something tomorrow. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'll let y'all kick it. I'll leave this live stream up. So I'll catch you on the flippity flip. Peace fucking out.